Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Trap Draw podcast. It's the booth. Sarge is here. Of course, I got my guy Neil. What's up, brother?
Sarge, things are good, man. Fired up to be here. July 10th, post 4th of July. Just kind of getting into the dog days.
I love it.
Lot going on though. Lot to talk about. Yeah, shout out to America.
Mhm.
Shout out to my sister-in-law, brother-in-law had a baby
I saw that. Huge
on the 4th of
congrats.
July. So
Of
we got to
course, shout out to our guy, Mr. Jeezy, as well.
yeah, of course, shout out to Jeezy, shout out to my new nephew, Petey's cousin. So all good things happening in my world. How about you?
Yeah, it's great. Been a really good summer so far. It's crazy that we're already at the 4th of July. It's hot as balls, of course, in the great state of Texas, but there's a lot that we're going to get to. Hey, it's the booth. I'm excited. We're going to run down a lot of stuff. Of course, before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends, the presenting sponsor of this here podcast, and that's ServPro, the number one brand in cleanup and restoration. And it is known for making any mess like it never even happened with over 2,200 locations
2,200,
nationwide.
not 2,000, 2,200 locations. Don't forget about those 200, Cody.
Of course, they're faster to any size disaster. Please visit servpro.com or call 1-800-ServPro today. It's Mea Culpa season. Neil, what do you got?
Well, we did the Gin Rewind. I know this is not a
Mhm.
golf podcast, but
Of
we did the
course.
Gin Rewind, mid-year check-in. And God, I felt like I took some barrel fire for my top course played. I played Tara Edie 4 times. And it's just like, I just want to apologize to the Strap Nation out there. Wet my beak. TC and I took a personal trip down there. And we actually recorded a podcast about it that we'll probably put out later this month. Didn't film any content or anything, but it was really nice to go on a trip, just like a personal golf trip with my
P-trip,
brother.
baby. Personal.
And I'm sorry, I'm a fraud. I'll mea culpa for that, but I'm not going to apologize for doing it. I had a great time, and yeah, there you have it, Cody.
Well, I hear. Have you played any other good golf as of late? This isn't a golf podcast, but
Uh,
anything up there with like a
well,
Tara Edie land that you would like to get out on the airwaves of well?
played Marion. I loved it. It was
Oh,
awesome.
okay. Any other top 10 in the world
Um,
that you'd like to get off your chest?
no, I don't think so.
Okay, good.
I've been
Well, you
playing
never know.
good golf though. God, dude,
You
I
have.
had a really good showing in the Long Island Mid-Am this week. Made match play, then got my doors blown off. No, I lost on 17, 3-1. I battled, but I lost in the round of 32 to the Farmingdale State's finest. These college golfers, man, they're polished. They just
They
they're
don't know
not as
what life ahead is ahead of them yet, man. There's
I
no
know, not
fear
as much volatility in their game as me.
for sure.
So anyway, we'll save the golf talk for another pod. What do you got? What do you need to apologize for, Cody?
I continue. I think I said this the last time we rolled the booth out as well. I just been having some tech issues, and this time it's not even really me. It's more of NLU as a whole when it comes to tech. The recording software that we use for every podcast is called StreamYard, and forever they've been very, very good. I used to have two hitters on the developmental team that I could hit out, and they would be so proactive in answering my stuff whenever I need it. I don't know if they got let off or they're tied up in other things or whatnot, but they've been zero responses back to me for probably 2 months now. This really a lot of it goes back to PGA Championship when I was trying to get stuff set up there. But most recently, in the last week, we've had some issues with Solly specifically and his local files that we need to actually polish things up and to make the video component of it, not only for the main NLU pod, but for this when he does ball knowers and everything else. For some reason, his video file is not actually showing the video. It is there, it's just a blank screen, and we still have his audio file with it. So we can make it happen. But the last couple NLU podcasts, me and our main audio editor, Phil, have just been grinding and trying to make stuff happen. And it's hard when we're trying to improve not only the audio listeners, but also the visual aspect, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify or anything else. And we have all these big goals and aspirations, and our fucking tech is failing us. And it makes me so mad because I pride myself, and I know you do too, on our tech stack. and
Well, at
it's
least I'm being competent. I
I
place
know.
that skill above all others, and so when we feel like we're incompetent, I know it hits you hard, it hits me hard.
Oh, it's so frustrating at times, and I'm doing this, and I'm saying, yeah, mea culpa if people have noticed anything, specifically over on the main NLU pod the last couple of weeks. But I think we're at a spot where we've gotten it cleaned up the best that we can. But I'm also putting this out here because there's a lot of people that people come and listen to us because there's a lot of business folks and everything else, but other people who are in the podcast space as well. I want to hear from you. Hit me up, Cody at nolayingup.com. I want to hear what services you use to record your stuff. Of course, we work in this remote world. If there's other tools or services that are better that we can talk to, that you can talk, if you love it, let me know. I am more than willing to change what we got to explore new options to make us a better product. So that's my
Wow,
mea
I didn't know you
culpa.
were gonna put StreamYard on blast like that.
Well, honestly, I just think like Neil, they're not replying to anything anymore. I don't get it. And I
Well,
know
it's been a s I will say
wired
this, it's been a very solid platform because we did bounce around with some Zoom stuff, some Riverside, like, we've tried them, and this one has been, over the last 3 years, very dependable.
very
So,
good.
you
They
know,
got bought out last year.
who bought them?
Last fall. I'll go back and look at it again. And I know uh I was really tight with Gage, one of the founders, and I know they got a boatload of cash. So it doesn't I don't
Yeah.
know if they waited for like their year retainer or whatever that they gave them to run up and then they just been gone. But they continue
Tough.
to invest in the
Yeah.
product itself. And I know this is a lot of back end stuff to make it better, but I have so many more controls now. I just wish the customer service aspect of it would improve. And, people that are listening to this podcast, they probably don't care about that, but it matters to
Well,
me.
no, but it's
So,
kinda goes it's important, like, when we sometimes it's just, like, uptime dependability is, I don't really need all, like, the bells and whistles, I just need it to work every time I fire it up.
mhm.
You start to just, like, appreciate that about certain things that you use. Anyway, I don't wanna put them on blast too hard because I've always found it to be a pretty intuitive platform, and we've recommended it to a bunch of people.
Ton.
But, Cody will be toiling away in the background. I don't even know this is an issue. It's first time hearing of this. I just assumed it was Solly's fault because he always has tech issues.
No, I mean, I'm not gonna throw. I feel bad saying that it's Solly's fault because it could be a computer thing, and we're gonna investigate that later on this afternoon. But I think it's a software issue, dog. I don't necessarily think it's a hardware thing. Neil, what's been going on, man? You had a great. I was very excited, being in the background last week for Trap Draw mid-year goals check in. You're just stunting on everybody. Lots of goals,
I
lots of
wouldn't say that.
progress. You know, how do you
I
feel so far?
I feel busy. I feel like it's been a very productive and, I don't know, action-packed 6 months. I'm feeling that for sure. Birthday week was my
Yeah, it
birthday
was
on
your birthday.
Monday. I'm 36 as of
Mm,
July 7th, 2025. So that certainly makes me feel some things. I'm not a
how does
huge birthday guy, but it's always nice to get a bunch of notes from your friends. I spent my birthday playing golf, a competitive golf with strangers out on Long Island, just grinding in like 95-degree humidity to shoot two over. I mean, I wouldn't have had it any other way. I love it. I loved it on a Monday. No, no place I'd rather be. Best job I ever
course,
had kind of
of
thing.
course. Come on.
So that's cool. But at 36, I feel pretty good, man. I feel like got some aches and pains, but the Whoop's telling me, I don't know if they're bullshitting me. They're telling me my Whoop age is 30. So we got that going for us, which is nice.
Really?
Yeah, it
Mine's
says
still old.
my vitals are telling it. I don't know. They're probably modeling it out or something, but I'll take it. You know
I
what I
get
mean?
dinged every day for sleep and recovery. It's I don't know how do you get ahead of it. Says that I'm like
Well,
47.
you know what? I did a pretty good job. I had to get up really early to drive out there because traffic out to Long Island is just bad, period. So I'd rather just get up early. I was pretty active. If you go to, you just got to go to bed earlier, man. And I know it's like, oh, it's easy to say, but it's like, even that extra 30 minutes has helped my recovery scores and stuff.
Let me ask you a Whoop maintenance question here.
Sure.
I decided we got I got the new Whoop. Of course, you have the new Whoop, 5
Yeah.
5.0, I think it's called. You can check them out, of course, whoop.com. But I went with a light band option this time.
Okay.
and I'm not really feeling it because, I do a lot of stuff outside, whether that's practicing, golfing, you name it, but a lot of yard work, and
Yeah.
it's getting dirty. So maintenance wise, are you washing this thing? How are you handling your actual whoop care?
Oh, I soap in the shower. I leave it on, just leave it on at all. If I
You
haven't
wear this in
sweat
the
in it,
shower?
always. Well, no, not always. After workouts, yes. But, like,
Okay.
morning shower, just woke up, I'll take it off because I don't want it to be wet, but it
Right.
dries pretty quick. I mean, I just soap, like, basically wash it like I wash my body, and I don't have any stink issues with it.
Mm.
Anyway, I wanna talk, we're gonna do a little goal spotlight in a minute, so I got some more Whoop stuff. Not a not a Whoop ad, but it is on the agenda already. I wanna talk about your yard work real quick. I mean, you should have made a culpa to that stone in your yard. I mean,
Oh,
what
it was
happened,
big.
dude?
Well, you got dead spots occasionally in your grass, and when you're cutting your grass as tight as I am, now I've walked, shout out to Toro, awesome, but I walked my green mower down. I'm at 0.35 of an inch. It's
Yeah.
it's very, very close. So that's, if you think about it, that is, a little bit longer than a golf green, but basically if you go to a nice club and they mow like their approach is running up to the greens. That's what it is. It's very, very tight right now. It's popping. I'm so proud. I'm so impressed with it. But when you mow it down that low, there's a lot of extra work that goes into it to maintain it. And I had a couple dead spots out there that I went out and investigated. So if anybody who has dead spots in their grass, I would recommend the first thing you do is you go out there and just do a simple screwdriver test. Just take a screwdriver, go pound it around in that dead spot. More than likely, you're going to find, rocks. You'll find old sprinkler head or something that doesn't work anymore. Who knows what's buried underneath there? But usually it's just something that the soil's not getting all the nutrients it should up to the grass. And for me, I knew there were going to be a couple rocks there. I just didn't realize I'd stumble upon this massive boulder that I ended up finding.
I mean, it was basically Stonehenge, and for those
Yeah.
wondering, Cody does a great job on his Instagram. I kinda just wait for this content of his just, his process, his practice out in his yard. I mean, that rock, like, how did you not know that was there earlier? And it's almost like the dead spot was smaller than I thought it would be for how big that rock was.
Well, Bermuda grows weird. So basically, Bermuda is very close to a weed, right? But where, unlike most people, when they think of grass, they think of one seed that has one blade that shoots straight up in the air.
Yeah.
That's how your bluegrass is. That's how your rye. That's how your bents. That's how those grasses grow. But Bermuda's not like that. They have long, basically long strains of grass, and they run parallel across the ground, and then they have a million little blades that stick up from that. So even though the spot is small, that underneath it, it's usually gonna be something big. So yeah, went in there and started digging away, and next thing you know, it turned into be this a big, big boulder. So I got as far as I could with my shovel, little pickaxe, and then realized quickly that the ground just got way too firm. And I went to my nearest rental store, rented a jackhammer, and started jackhammering away. I think in total, what I thought this
God, this
project
is
was
what's
gonna.
in my future as a homeowner. This is so
I'm
sick.
so excited for you. But what I thought it was probably gonna be like a 2-hour project before, because I didn't think the rock was gonna be as big as it was. Turned out to be well over like almost 2 full days of work and a lot of jackhammering going on. And it got to the point where I was like, this is no longer fun. My traps, my lats, like everything are just smoke still 3 days later just from like
God, I gotta get
just
that
ripping
one
on.
still image of you holding a jackhammer. Your jackhammer technique was fantastic. You got the hiking boots on, your Solomons, like the ones you recommended I get for hiking.
Mhm.
You got the
Rest
high
in
socks, just
rest in peace to.
absolute dad mode. I mean, it's just like, God, like, I mean, it's very memeable picture. Really, really good stuff. It makes me very happy. Please
It's
keep that content coming.
I know. I feel, thank you for shouting out my boots, of course. They finally split. The sole has separated from the shoe itself, so I'm gonna have to get some new yard shoes, which is fine. But I had a long run with those. They've been to a lot of different countries. I think those ones I bought in like 2018. So there's There's a lot of good memories in those boots that I thought would last a little bit longer, but, they had a
Touched a
hell of
lot
a
of
run
different dirt and sand
for sure.
and stuff, huh?
Yeah, a lot going on. But man, I'm so pumped for you to get out to the new place and yeah, I think honestly I might make a trip up just to scout the property out and tell you what you
Please.
can do, what you can't do, get you set up with the right equipment
I was saying joking around with my in-laws and my family over the 4th. I was, like, trying to come up with a name for the spot.
for the
And,
estate.
we went up to DJ and I went up to see the Tyler's ball plant, and they have this room, it's called the Vibratory, where they just, like, clean, like, defects, paint off the golf balls. It, like, basically, like, with metal pellets, the balls, like, come in like a ski balls across the roof of, like, the loading dock. It's crazy, and it's their side, it says the Vibratory. I was like, "Oh, I might name my office that."
I
And
love
they were all
that.
like, "That sounds like a sex toy." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Fair. They were so underwhelmed because I kinda built up, like, "I think I got a name." And I said that, and they're like, "That sucks." I'm like, "Damn it." So then I'm thinking like the Vibrary. I don't know. We're workshopping. We're workshopping a name. I might have to just be on property a little bit more before I can come up with something that works. We are thinking about it. I did have, I'll give you one, house buying process. It's gone good. Um,
I think you've rocked it. It's
No,
going
but
really good.
but good update for us. So we got the, septic tank inspected. Everything went
Yeah.
well. That was like a month ago. So my mother-in-law, she drove by recently, like a week ago, and like the yard is fenced, but I learned from the first septic inspection that our property actually goes like another 50 yards at least because the septic field is outside the fence line
Yeah.
and it's up next to our neighbor who has a nice piece of property next door, and he's like, he's kind of like my dad. Like he's got projects going over there. He's got good stuff going on over there. A lot of work being done. You know what I mean? And so she drove by and she saw like the whole septic field had been cleaned out. It was just like fresh dirt,
Hmm.
and like because it had kind of been overgrown, like wetlands, kind of just like scruffy weeds, whatever.
Yeah.
And the septic people had said like, "Hey, the only recommendation we give you is like make sure like no big ass trees or don't let any roots get down in these trenches. That's the only real issue
Yep.
you're gonna have. That's why like if you could grass it, great, but we understand there's some wetland stuff going on, whatever." So she's like, "Oh man." So calls the owner, and the owner's like calls the neighbor. The neighbor's like, "Oh damn, I thought that was my property, but you're right. Now I see the septic like things." He's like, "I basically planted like a whole field of wildflowers. So like I guess like my housewarming gift to you guys." But like
Whoa.
and he was like, "Please bring the septic people back in to like make sure I didn't mess anything up." And like, I was like, I was down to pay for it, but he's like, "No, I'll pay for it." So I was like, you know what? Shout out to like, can't wait to like meet my guy next door. You know what
That's
I'm saying?
awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It was just kind of like, oh, like honestly, like kind of did me a massive solid by cleaning that area out, even though it was kind of a mistake. But we just had to make sure he didn't use any like heavy machinery or anything over there. But just little stuff like that where you're like, "Oh my god," like,
God,
just
talk about some good natural fertilizer for them wildflowers too, dog.
I know, man. Should be a ripe and fertile area for sure, for
Get
sure.
some
So,
influencers out there. Just hey, come take your fall pictures at the vibratory.
at the Vibrary, yeah, exactly. Alright, what about the 4th, man? What'd you do?
We stayed around the house, so I set up this above ground pool. So first of all, before we get here, okay, I started looking for things to do in the Plex for 4th of July, probably in like middle of May, and quickly realized that everything was like sold out, or they want so much money to do stuff. Last summer, I went up and stayed at our friends Omni, and I stayed at
Yeah,
their property at Omni PGA Frisco. It was great. Got two rooms up there, connecting rooms. Mommy and I, we had a room to ourselves. The kids are going haywire, you know, bouncing off the walls, ordering room service and stuff in the connecting room. Great 4th of July show, everything. Listen, by the time that I thought about this year, it was way too much. Plus, like the week prior, the girls were completely spoiled, and we stayed in one of the ranch houses while we were there for the KPMG Women's PGA Championship.
yeah,
So I'm not just going to take them like right back there again. But I looked at that, looked at going down to Austin, stay at Barton Creek. Didn't really want to spend that much money to do that either. So we decided to stay local. And I, you know, just rocking this above ground pool in the backyard. not a pool guy. I've learned that. I don't really like the pool. It's not because it's my grass or anything. I didn't realize the amount of like chemicals and upkeep and skimming and
Sure. That was a job
cleaning
for
and
me as a
everything.
kid. I had to
Oh,
do the chlorine, skim the pool, that whole deal.
I honestly I still don't understand even when I test like what I need to put everything that's in there. I feel
pH
like I just
levels,
have
yeah.
so much shit going on. We had a great 4th of July, cooked out, hung out, tons of fun. The weather was really good. And then, on by the time the weekend came, I focused my attention on the rock. So the girls were out there helping me dig a little bit, but it was great. Now they're back in camp before we have a busy week next week and then a nice little week of vacation in Puerto Rico before I take off to Wales.
Hell yeah. Puerto Rico to Wales. Not many people doing that back to back.
No, but
Fired up
hey,
for
you
you.
gotta shock the system
Going to
every
hang with
once
the
in a
in-laws, right?
while. Hell yeah, I'm
Let's
pumped.
go. You know what, man? Yeah, I love the pool, but pools are a lot of work. I feel you on that one. But they are nice. Like my in-laws have one, and two highlights from 4th of July for me. Finally got Sunny, my dog, to launch off the pool deck to like fetch balls in the water, just like
Love
full
that.
send. Where her brother Elvis, the other black lab, he's been doing it since like day one.
Yeah, it sounds
Like,
like a Pete thing. Like Pete's probably been like, "Yo, we've been training on this for a long time."
well, no, it was funny. It's two things. One, Elvis, he's been swimming so much that he got like a hot spot, and so we had to
Mm.
keep him out of the pool and put a cone on him. Feel bad for my guy. So we had to keep him inside. He's dying inside, seeing everybody having fun at the pool. But Elvis, he's the frog man. He's great. He's a killer in the pool. He'll swim for hours, but he's kind of like bad on land. He doesn't fetch well. He's kind of slow compared to Sonny. Sonny's like a beast on land, like doesn't take any shit off of Elvis. They're brother and sister, two black labs. But she's like kind of prissy in the pool. She goes in on the steps and like when
It's
he's
just
in the
like me.
pool.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
when she's in the
I see
pool,
the comparison you're trying to make. It's
no,
okay.
she doesn't want like Elvis will kind of like start swimming up on her. She just doesn't like, if we throw the ball in the pool, like Elvis is gonna go send it, you know, full speed, just like absolute swan dive. And he's putting his head on, like he's like diving and he's crazy, man. So anyway, we keep Elvis inside. We found this red, like bigger red ball. And for some reason, Sonny's just going nuts about this ball. It must have been the color. It was like orange or red. It's like a ball. I got to figure out what brand it is because it's actually kind of sweet. My brother-in-law and I, we got our mother-in-law a pool basketball hoop for Christmas, which was really a gift to ourselves. But we
It
were like,
sounds like
hey,
it.
we're all gonna want to hang out with the pool if the pool basketball hoop is out here.
Right.
This is like you're gonna like this as especially as like these grandkids get older. This is
Mhm.
gonna be like this is a good investment, we
You
promise.
want people at the pool, so we're gonna
Yeah.
put this there, and
I
that's
mean,
what we'll
there's
do.
nothing I got so many memories of pool hoops as a kid. Just hours of going ham on 21 in the pool, dunk contests off the edge, you name it, right? So we got a nice high quality hoop. The problem is these dogs popped both basketballs that came with the set immediately because
Ugh.
like they see a ball and it's like, oh, I gotta have it. Like I'm gonna retrieve that shit. So we found a ball that's like kind of pool basketball size that like the dog can chew on. Like it like drains itself of water. It's kind of hard to explain. It like keeps its
Mm.
shape. It's almost like a run flat tire. And so it's kind of great because like dog can chew on it, but we can still hoop with it and
Yeah.
everybody's happy. For some reason, Sunny has just been obsessed with this ball. And so we started throwing it and she started just going like just sending it. Like she just kind of got over her fear and just started because she used to just like get all the way up to the edge and wouldn't jump in. And it just I can't tell you how happy it made me to watch my dog just like let it fly. You know what I'm saying? And I sent a video to my dad and my family. I was like, Dad, I know you're gonna love this because my dad loves labs. And it's just like you just see this dog, Sonny's round in the corner, full speed, just no hesitation, sending it in the deep end, catching the ball like as she's landing, swimming out with it, and like, let's go
Love it.
again.
Yeah.
It's like I could just throw her the ball all day. So that was sweet. And then the other thing is Petey tried his first popsicle, and
Mm.
it was kinda one of those moments of, like, you see the light bulb go off on a kid's face. It's like, "Well, this is really good. I like
Yeah, I
this."
like it.
Like,
This is cold, but
I
also delicious.
I would like another bite. Uh, and I was like, "Okay, well, we're gonna have to conserve the Johnny Pops or I'm gonna go bankrupt. So we're gonna give you a bomb pop, okay?" But just, red, white, and blue all over his face, just doesn't really know how to eat it, and then the best part, we were like, "Dude, you gotta slow down. You're gonna get a brain freeze." My brother-in-law, Jerry, we're like, "This is gonna be a problem, dude." We're like telling him this. Obviously, he can't understand us. Sure enough, he fucking lost it, you know? "Ah!" Yeah, it's like, "All right." I was like, we were like, "We told you," you know? And Carson's getting mad at me. She's like, "Shut up. Stop making fun of," you know?
I'm
I
making
was
fun
like,
of him.
we were like, "No, we're not making fun. We tried to tell him." Like, we were like, "You're gonna have to learn the hard way, kid. Don't be like us," you know? Like, so it's just like a fun, like, very stupid family, next generation moment that, like, I will probably remember forever of, like, we're sitting by the pool, like, basically I think Carson or Jerry brought the popsicle out and was like, gave Pete like, "Hey, Pete, you want a little bite?" And he just was like hooked, and it was just like, I can't get enough of this. And then of course he got a brain freeze. I was like, that's coming of age stuff right
Saw
there.
it coming.
Saw
Listen,
it coming.
you learn.
So
Petey, next time you'll know.
good 4th of July with the fam. The tank was filled up, which was great.
Hey, how long is the distance between your new place and then your in-laws' place?
I want to say like 3 miles,
Oh,
maybe.
that close.
It's like 14 minutes away. It's kind of windy, it's not like a direct like down the street, but it's very close, which I'm excited about.
Well, I love it. I love all the, they do have a sweet pool in their backyard, so hopefully you take full advantage of that. Do you know who else loves summer, Neil?
I have an idea. I think
Rhoback.
it's Rhoback.
Hmm.
God, we're on the same page. Great transition right there.
I can't remember if I'm doing the read or not, but I'm gonna do it. Hey, you guys all know Rhoback. They have our favorite polos, hoodies, shorts, pants, you name it. Best fit, best feel, simple as that. We're deep into summer, and that means it's time for Rhoback's American Summer Collection. It includes our favorite polos, spacious skies, heather stripe with the USA flag on the back, and the seventh inning stretch polo with a cool bat ball and hot dog pattern. Everyday shorts, the Henzi Performance hoodie, Tailwind Performance tees, Delta Looper shorts, medley swim trunks. It goes on and on. Everything included that you could think of in the American Summer Collection. Summer is here with Rhoback. Use code TRAP, that's TRAP, at Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off your first order through the end of the week. That's Rhoback, RHOBACK.com for 20% off all polos, hoodies, and more with code TRAP.
I would shout out the 1776 polo, which I
Mm.
I I wore. Got some Ben Franklin motifs, things of that nature. And they just came out with an Old Bay collaboration. Some good
Your brother said that. I
Yeah,
saw that.
some good stuff going on Rhoback.com. Some summer collabs coming soon or already out. So go check it out.
Very
All right,
good.
Cody. What are you consuming? What do you got for me?
I am gonna flip this. So usually we talk a lot, something that I'm reading, something I'm watching, a movie that I went to, what you name it. But I want to bring. So we don't talk a lot about my previous life, or we try not to anymore. We try to keep it light, try to keep it fresh. But there's been some absolute drama, Neil, in the veteran community. And the reason I bring this up is because it's surpassed veterans space now. And there's a lot more people that listen to a bunch of these veteran specific podcasts, whether that's, Jocko or, some, I know Chaps gave up doing Zero Block 30 and he's doing something else now, but more travel specific show. But people go there for motivation and everything else like that. And sometimes you have these veterans that are elevated to these positions where think of like a Goggins. Goggins is not
Sure.
just the veterans guy anymore. He's a motivational character. And there's another guy who long time has kind of been that, and his name is Tim Kennedy. Tim Kennedy is an MMA fighter, but really before that, he was in the military. He's actually still in the military, in the National Guard. Wrote a book that came out a couple years ago that not a lot of people, not a lot of military people, I guess, probably read or put too much thought into it. But within the past like 2 years, the veterans community has really been diving deep into this, specifically because he embellished a ton of shit. Basically, he made up a ton of stories to try to make him seem like he is bigger and badder and way more courageous, I would say, than he actually is, which is fucked because he has like, his normal military service is outstanding. And that's where he shouldn't expect or have to think that he needs to prove any more than that, but he did. He's inflated his experiences all over the world, just told crazy stories, talked it's like admitted at one point in time to like being involved in killing women and children and being in gunfights with 500 Iranian fighters and like all this shit that never ever happened. And the veterans community is finally calling him out on it. And it started, I'll say, um, because of one podcast looking specifically into this book. And it's the reason why I think it matters is because it goes back to not everything that you see on the internet, not every person that you follow that you think is like this outstanding person that many people, whether they're in high school right now and thinking of joining the military or anything else like that, or people that are our age and looking for other people to motivate them to be better at life or be a better father or be better in the gym or whatever else. Like, not everything's always true. All right, and I think this is the first like big example of that. And the reason why it's gotten to this point is because he's basically denied it and has tried to put blame on multiple other different people. But he's kind of backed himself into a corner now where he's lost a ton of his sponsors, to include Black Rifle Coffee Company, who like supports veterans to the nth degree. They
Yeah.
finally like had to send him, their lawyer sent him a letter. Is like, you got to remove us from your website because we don't deal with people in stolen valor. And that's what Tim Kennedy has done. So it's been very murky and not a good spot to be in looking from the outside in. And it's like a fascinating thing of, again, a community. I don't want to say like taking, being mean to somebody, but holding a person accountable for the bullshit that they've created.
So you've been following this story.
Yeah, for sure.
God, I don't know who Tim Kennedy is. I'm gonna have to deep dive this one.
I tell
I
you,
mean,
you've seen if you've watched military shows about anything, whether it's like a military reality show or any of the History Channel deep dives or anything, he's probably been there.
he's like a go-to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Always on
So
Fox
basically,
News.
stolen valor, and he didn't even have to.
Yeah, he's had a great career. I mean, he's a Green Beret, a Special Forces guy. Was in Seventh Group, active duty for like 8 years. Deployed, did good work,
And
but he doesn't need to like make up all these
so what was
these
the
war
so
stories
sorry,
that
just
didn't happen.
what was the podcast? He wasn't like was it a podcast that like interviewing him, and he's just basically lying, or is it like somebody did an expose podcast where like,
Yes,
yo,
somebody
this
did
is
an expose. Basically, if you like get on any social channel now and just search Tim Kennedy, like all of it's gonna pop up. But
yeah. Well,
it's
I mean,
tough.
it's yes, it's just like a bummer. It's like, I mean, the first question, somebody like me, you telling me this truly as like a first I'm hearing of it. It's like, why'd you do that?
Yeah,
And then
when there's
second
no
is
need
like,
to.
why do you, so you think he's just going to stay, like, just like, you know, go down with the ship? Like,
Well, I don't
just
think he's
deny
gonna.
it until
No,
like,
because there's some serious allegations in there now, and like I said, he's still in the National Guard. He's still in the military theoretically.
okay, so there could be some like actual court martial type stuff.
100%. Like, there is both USASOC, which covers all U.S. Army special operations, as well as SOCOM being like the proponent that we would deploy special operations would deploy under globally, are all looking into these things now and actually doing investigations on it. And I would say the most extreme example would be a potential court martial or UCMJ or anything else like that. But what probably will end up happening is that, you know, in the military, you ride and die by the awards and the qualifications that you receive. But part of that, just like me, I rocked, double Ranger scrolls because of the unit that I was in. I wore a Ranger tab because of my graduation from Ranger school. Tim, obviously is a Green Beret. He would carries and wears a Special Forces tab as well. Those are a privilege,
Yeah,
and
those can be stripped
those can
basically.
be removed.
Yeah.
Your Green Beret, my Tan Beret, all those things can be removed if you don't uphold the standards that are set by that organization. And I think that's probably what is going to end up happening is that they'll remove his Special Forces tab as well as his Ranger tab.
So, and basically, like, he put these lies on paper in a book that he wrote.
Yeah, try to make money. Just like,
Yeah. Okay.
forever. He's gone on he's been on Rogan quite a few times. He's been on Jocko, you name it. He's been on their podcast, like talking about stuff and has done really good stuff for the veterans community. He just has like over inflated these stories to where you're like, man, you don't need to be the cool guy that says stuff. And then when you put it down in a book
Yeah.
and it's like for the record now, and people start poking around and looking at it, and you're like, well, this is all just bullshit. Like
Yeah.
none of this happened.
God, that just feels like a tough way to go about life. It's a shame, you know? I mean, for
It
like,
sucks.
it reminds me of the Brian Williams stuff, you know?
Yeah,
Like, whether or not you like NBC or whatever, like, back in the day, him on Nightly News, you're like, "That guy's a total pro, man."
it's great.
Like, super, like,
Yes.
just handsome dude, smooth talker, really, really nice as an anchor, and it's just like, well, just you can't just be lying about helicopter crashes, dog, like, you know? But it's like, it just, it's tough, man. It's like, own goals are hard to watch, I think would be would be my reaction to that.
Yeah,
Uh,
to like what? So to make yourself seem cooler,
yeah, I
harder,
know.
more badass? Like what's and the other thing that's so weird, like me, I I I was an intelligence professional in the military. Yeah, I got to do a lot of like badass, tough guy, cool shit because of selections and training and everything else that I went through. But like, not everybody, people naturally think that like the hardest guys that are out there, you have to do and have all these stories and Rolodexes and everything that goes with it. And you're like, well, not really, man. Like, you can do any job you want and still be heroic at it,
No,
still
what was the
excel
one
at
you
it,
told me?
be hard,
I don't wanna air out the Marines, but you were telling me about what was the artillery one? Uh, you were in Syria, and it's like, you've been, like, in this shit for a while, and this, like, artillery company came in, and the guy was like, "Yo, we'll we don't need bathrooms." And you're like, "Dude,
Well, yeah, that was
it's
like
like,
when
we
we
you don't that's not how you prove that you're a tough
yeah,
guy. Like, just go use we I've been working to get these bathrooms for, like, a month. Like, tell your
yes,
team to use the bathroom
very
and
much
not
so.
go to the bathroom in the sand, okay?"
So we had probably been in northern
I think
Syria
about that a
for
lot. It cracks me up.
4 months now, and we'd helped our Syrian partners with the clearance of basically like the Kobani pocket, and we had started the offensive to going from north to south to clear Raqqa, which is at the time was the stronghold of ISIS, the capital of ISIS. And we had requested because there's a million different things going on, but we needed some sort of long range munition support. And we're like, oh, there is a Marine battalion outside of Baghdad that's not doing anything right
Which
now.
is like, what, 900 guys?
Yeah, but we only got like 2 companies of them. So basically they sent, a battalion minus. So they probably sent maybe like 120, 140 guys up,
Okay.
which is a lot. And, so we had all this extra firepower and everything, and they built out a fire base, and we had um they're excited because they weren't really doing shit in Iraq. And they were not on our camp. They were a
True,
couple miles
hoorah.
away. And we had like built out, this fire base, which is basically, you clean out this area of the desert. There's no houses or anything, but we got big front end loaders and built big berms and everything like that, and platforms where they could put all these, gun positions and everything else like that. And in the middle, we put a wet shoe and hooked it up with water, so they had showers and running water. And we put another one next to it, which was laundry. And they were like, we had noticed after a couple weeks, like every time we drive past them, these fucking Marines just are getting dirtier and dirtier and stinkier and stinkier. And like, what the hell is going on over there? Because they had never asked for like any sort of water refuel. Like
Yeah.
they didn't want us to come like refill any of their stuff. So I remember we finally stopped by there one day and they're like, yeah, we never used the shower.
And you guys are
We're,
like the
we're not
bosses.
gonna use it.
Like, they basically do what you guys are saying.
Yeah, we're like their battle space owners,
Yeah.
basically, of it. And we're just like the forward element of everything back in, special operations headquarters, and that was in northern Iraq at the time. And I remember just sitting there, I'm like, well, why aren't you using the bathrooms? Why aren't you taking a shower? We're fucking Marines. Like, "What?" Like, "We're here to do one job and one job only, and our job's not to shower. We don't need to be smelling good." I'm like, "Yeah, but, like, your guys are getting sick. You can put
Oh
on
my
clean
god.
clothes. It's
I
all
don't know
good.
why that
You're
cracks me up
fine."
so much. I
But it's
honestly
a
think about that, like,
mentality.
once a week, you
It's a
know?
mentality, and I fucking love them because they're like, "No, everything is mission first. Everything else is a luxury to them."
Yes.
And they're there for 60 days and then they rotate out and the next 2 companies come in and they do the exact same thing. Like, if you can't do this for 60 days, then you don't need to be a fucking Marine anymore. Which I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. But you also, like, don't have to do that.
I know. That's what it's like. I admire it on the one hand, but the other hand, I'm like, dude, you take the win if you got it. Like you're not doing anything wrong, you know? Like God, yeah. It's like you don't have there's nothing left to prove. Like we are
None.
now in the like real space. It's like you gotta like use your resources, man. I just it cracks me up because I don't know. There's just, there's I don't know. Anyway, we're off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
What do you got going on, brother?
Not that. I'm gonna look at what's the guy's name? Sorry, and give me the podcast name.
Tim Kennedy.
Tim Kennedy and the podcast was what?
Yeah.
I just now that because people are gonna ask probably.
Yeah, Neil. So it's Tim Kennedy and you can find it on the Anti-Hero podcast.
Anti-hero podcast. All right.
Yep.
I'm gonna dive into that. We'll pick that back up. Uh Next one. Also, I think I want to get TC in here in a future date. Not right now, but I do want to talk like Iran and just like,
Oh,
Alatola stuff. Just maybe check in with the Sarge on geopolitics.
Ayatollah.
Um,
Yes.
Ayatollah, whatever.
There's a
You know
lot
what?
going on.
That's a guy that I'm fine mispronouncing his name. Um,
I
I
think,
am
I think your guy Tucker just had one. I can't remember who he had on his podcast,
huh,
but I think he had the
thanks for coming on the
president
show. Huh,
president of Iran on his
next
podcast.
up, send it to Ted Cruz. Yeah. Uh,
Last year, I don't want to go down this road. Uh, but it's like I'm just so depressed about it all. It just sucks.
I
Sucks.
know. Let's take.
Especially
We're gonna take that one later. We will quarantine that discussion
thank you.
and hit people with you know, listen if you dare tagline. I'm going a different direction. So I mentioned on the goals pod, but I'm reading this Titan, the biography of John D. Rockefeller, and Chernow. I mean, the guy's a menace. I maybe I know I'm stating the obvious, but like the book has been great. I mean, Rockefeller, like kind of a sociopath, but just a total operator, like the operator's operator. The organizational genius of that guy is stuff that I'm getting a lot of juice out of reading it, and the way he built a business first based on like heating oil, and then it turns into gasoline. So I'm about
Yep.
halfway through it, and I'm enjoying it. It's a dense read though, and I sought out some podcasts. I was like, man, I actually want to hear from Ron, himself. And the only one I didn't find many, I found Ryan Holiday. It's also hard to search for like podcast, you know, like I rarely do this. It's an interesting thing about podcasts, but searching for like a topic, like in Spotify, it didn't really surface the results weren't great. Let me put it that. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it didn't really surface what I wanted, but I found one with Ryan Holiday, that stoic guy, and that was decent. But I'll keep looking.
What a
And just like
heavy
how
heavy hitter though. I mean,
Ooh,
you're talking about Chernin and like what he writes about. Titan's an awesome book, but I think probably most notably for either Twain or the
I think the
Alexander
Twain
Hamilton
one
one.
just came out, right? So I felt like I think he's probably doing the press junket right now. So anyway, I'll dig in more. I think I'm gonna fire up Twain next. Obviously Hamilton, the whole play is based on his biography of Hamilton. He's talking a little bit about that in his podcast, and then he did, I think he did Grant and Washington. Also, God, I listened to Ken Burns on Rogan, and I'm usually good for like I'll scroll Rogan, and like if I see a guest like Ken Burns, like sign me up. Like you sent me the Pete Berg one. I really enjoyed that. Like it's just guest specific with Rogan. But Ken Burns was fantastic. So
It
that was
was
another
great.
one I'd shout out.
It was so
But
educational about like the history of public
yeah, and
broadcast and like
how
why.
he operates, and just been living in the same house for like 50 years up in,
Yep,
New Hampshire. Like I appreciate that guy, his dedication to the craft, and
for
some
sure.
overlap there with what he's talking about with because he's coming out with his American Revolution like 18-hour saga.
So
pretty
pumped.
soon, and so there was some overlap with Chernow and what he was talking about with Washington. And George Washington truly might be underrated. You know, uh, like guy was sounds like he was just a total menace, eye for talent. Like just as a like he was the dude.
Yep.
Both hearing Ken Burns and Chernow talk about like truly like the only guy for the job kind of thing. Was pretty good stuff. I think though, like thinking about goals from the pod, it might be a lifetime goal for me to at least start every Chernow book. You know what I mean? Like give them
Ooh.
kind of just like, hey man, I'm gonna read the whole catalog here, and I really like biographies. I like well written biographies, and I find Ron's prose moves pretty well, even though it's dense topics. So that's what I'm looking at. Cody, we got a goal spotlight, and then you know what? We're gonna unveil the egghead of the week segment.
Yes.
But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to Stone Creek, the official coffee of the Trap Draw. Also, just like the creme de la creme of ad copy. So this is all from Drew. This is the trap draw. So, in the spirit of monitoring, we'd like to call out a little trend our friends at Stone Creek have been watching closely. The explosion of themed coffee brands. You've seen them: coffee for firefighters, coffee for gun guys, coffee for anti gun guys,
Hey,
coffee for runners, CrossFitters, golfers, dog dads, whatever. The nicheification of caffeine is in full swing. But here's the thing: most of these brands are selling a story, not quality. They quote partner with importers to source coffee, which usually just means slapping a label on a bag of beans they didn't roast from a farm they've never visited. They might toss around some origin buzzwords or pretend they care about farmers, but odds are they don't know a bourbon from a Typica or how altitude actually affects cup profile. It's marketing cosplay dressed up as specialty coffee. Stone Creek is built different. They've been doing this for over 30 years. No gimmicks, no shortcuts, just legit coffee handled by people who give a damn. They do 90% of their own importing and maintain real relationships with farmers and exporters in Colombia, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Peru, and Nicaragua. Every batch is roasted fresh in-house in downtown Milwaukee. Every bean is tasted, tested, and dialed in because the goal isn't hype, it's quality you can actually taste. If you're curious but hesitant to commit, here's your safety net. If you don't love what you ordered, they'll swap it out or refund you, no drama. Drew and the crew at Stone Creek just want your morning cup to slap. Check them out at stonecreekcoffee.com. You'll find the full lineup there from single origin gems to everyday blends, and use the code NLU2025. That's NLU2025 for 15% off your first order. Stone Creek Coffee, the official coffee of people who like coffee. I mean, that's just good quality copy right there, Cody.
banging.
And some takes. Drew getting some takes out into the world.
Of course.
The nicheification of caffeine. I mean, come on, man. That's the
He's
stuff
not
that we
wrong.
could dig in here in the booth on some of that in golf. I love it.
Definitely not wrong, man. That's for
Oh my
damn sure.
god. Every time we hit up Drew, like, hey man, we got a booth coming up. Can you get us some, an Addy? And when I see it come through, I'm like, I can't wait to read it. You know what I mean? It's great stuff. All right, goal spotlight. What do you got? What do you want to spotlight?
I just want to get ahead of this. I talked about doing, I was gonna do my first ultra. I
Mhm.
ran myself into the ground. Now my foot or my toe, I broke my toe. My toe has since healed, but I'm back into that spot where outside of, a couple, I've ran two, what is it, Thursday? I ran on Monday morning and I ran yesterday morning. Both very easy 4 mile runs. That's all I'm doing. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on. It still kind of hurts, even though everybody's told me it's fine. I can't push it right now. I'm gonna start looking for something in November and December when the weather's actually more fitting and we have time to train for this shit. But that's where I'm gonna go. So I
That's
I
totally fine.
appreciate.
I don't know. You should not be ashamed of that. You got to get right.
Yep. We're so far over 500 miles so far this year that like 1,000 miles is a kind of a joke too. We're just eating them up, but I'm enjoying the little respite that I'm getting at the moment.
Good. Well, I'm kind of going the other direction. Got roped into a 10 strain challenge in July. I wouldn't say roped in. I kind of like created it with
You
the with
initiated it.
initiated it along with my buddy Evan, the strenuous chat. So we're not doing a wider NLU one in July, but I think we're gonna do one. I'm planning to do that in September or probably October. So
We'll
we'll
s-
we'll we'll get back. we'll get back to you with that. Same idea as what we did in January. But we're
Listen,
on day
Neil, on
10.
that, man, I totally forgot. I think Whoop is also gonna do there is supposed to be a Whoop wide challenge in September, in
Okay.
addition to the strain challenge that we're gonna do. So I think the best part about it is that we'll get the strain challenge set up for September. All of that is gonna count towards the Whoop wide one, and who knows, we might find double winners or something else like that. But anyway, you're on day 10. Tell us what's going on.
Well, you got the 5.0, so I think, strain's harder to get with the upgraded stuff, which is fine. But we're kind of this is when things start getting interesting. Mid-month at 10 to 20 days, I'm kind of like just before this podcast combining workouts with errands. I ran to the store with the backpack to get the marinara sauce because we got to make meatballs for Petey for lunch for the next few days. And, kind of an excuse for me to snag some strain. Honestly, like intentionally picking the hottest time of day to go because I don't have it. I'm kind of back to back today, and I got solo dad duty tonight. So I'm like, all right, man, like I am going to just go try to get it here in 30 to 40 minutes. And so it's kind of like, I don't know, it's this kind of like sicko game that I really enjoy for like a month. And then I'm gonna, then I need to like take it easy. But like trying to spot where the choke points will be. We're traveling, we're doing a video trip in 2 weeks. Like, okay, I got to make sure like those travel days are always tough ones. Am I getting it? I'm probably gonna have to get up at 5 a.m. one day and get it in.
Mhm.
But like forcing me when I do this strain challenge, it forces me to make working out a priority. It's that simple. And so I really it's just like I haven't found a better way to get me to do it. And once you get to day 10, you're just kind of like that's kind of when you get into double digits, you start craving it a little bit. Where you're like, God, I'm on a roll. This is great. I'm kind of through some of the soreness. Golf's always a hack. I'm putting up a 14 on a hot day, carrying my own bag. Like everybody else at this Long Island Mid Am has a caddy. I'm out there lugging my own bag because I'm because of the strain challenge. I'm like, no, I don't want a caddy. I don't want a caddy. The club's like, we'll give you one. Like, I don't want one. I want to be alone. I want to carry my own bag. You don't understand why. So I'm a weirdo. But I don't know. You probably understand this from your, selection in military days. You just gotta like it's nice to get in it, man.
Yeah,
When you know there's an end date, it's really nice.
for sure. One day
The
at a
only thing I
time.
don't like is I got talked into the Miller brothers, Evan and his brothers. They always want to make some team aspect to the strain challenge. So it can't just be everybody get 10. Now we have to have two teams of 5. Randy's in it, but it's like now it's like what team's gonna get the most strain? Everybody put $100 in the
Oh,
pot.
combined?
Yeah, yeah. So then it's like, fuck, now I got pressure to get like, the Miller brothers need winners and losers. And so I'm like, all right, whatever. But it's like, if it was up to me, it's just like, no, I just want to get over 10 every day. I don't want to be a moron and get hurt. So I'm picking my spots, but you can definitely count on me for 10. And
Got
if
it.
you do it like, in the heat of the day, like that's usually good for juicing a little bit of extra strain.
No,
So,
for sure.
so that's my goals update.
God, I was more worried going into this podcast that we're going to talk about Johnny Pops too much from ad spots that weren't paid for, but it turns out it's Whoop, man. What a run they've gotten.
No, but Whoop's a partner, and
Of
straight up,
course.
like
A
a
good
kind of
partner.
a part of like I use it, man. Like I don't, call it a ad if you want. I don't care. I mean, I think it's a good product. It's and also it makes it communal.
Oh,
Like this strain stuff is great with my buddies. We're just bullshitting each other all day long.
totally forgot. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. Mea culpas should have been the fucking our friends at Oars and Alps, okay? That is the biggest mea culpa that I think you and I in our life,
Yeah,
at least, being running the business end and no laying up. People, go search out the Oars and Alps promo codes and purchase some sunscreen. All right, because we did reads for about 2 months with no promo codes, and we were supposed to go check them out at Oars and Alps, please.
but
Anyway,
speaking of the homie with own goals, that was an own goal. But
oh,
I will say the boys make it right, okay?
for sure.
A few makeup reads. And straight up the Origin Out stuff is good. I was playing golf with somebody like, yo, man, I gotta ask you. We're talking a little shop. He's like, what's up with the sunscreen? Is it good? I'm like, yeah, dude, it is. It is. Like straight up. Like I look forward to putting it on because it doesn't like I hate putting on sunscreen. This is like the least invasive stuff. Anyway, that's a free ad.
No,
Uh
that is a free ad, very much so. But I encourage everyone, please to use code TDP15 to get 15% off at orsandelps.com.
TDP 50. Yo, help us out. Okay.
For sure. Listen, we're trying to move some product, okay?
We need some code redemptions. Uh,
Egghead.
all
What
right.
do you
We
got going
teased
on?
this one. We teased this one. So Cody and I were doing a little strategy, like we've done for the rest of the other parts of the business, but we talked like we want the, we want like we like doing the booth, but we want to kind of have some segments and some things to not fall back on, but like it helps when over the course of 2, 3, 4 weeks, you're looking for stuff that's going to be good for the booth that I can write
Mhm.
down in my doc, my kind of running notes of like, ooh, that'd be a good topic.
And we like getting deep on stuff. We don't st
Yeah.
we're just not monitoring things here, right?
And
We like a little depth.
yeah, exactly. And like I came up with one that I pitched to Cody, which was like the egghead of the week. And it's kind of like the I don't know, the double-edged sword of feedback on the internet, right? Like I try hard not to. I think it's important to take audience feedback. That's why we do the NLU census stuff. Our message board has been awesome for that.
Mhm.
But it's like there's a lot of people, and I look at the Reddit stuff too. But there's a lot of people that just don't understand why we do things or like are just straight up wrong. And or like I disagree with them, but it's like, man, it's a really bad use of my time to like write out a response because I'm a slow writer. And sometimes I'm like, well, what if I like used it? What if we took something that really made me think, or I was like, man, that's just so wrong. But like, I don't really want to, one, I don't really want to clap back, or two, I don't really want to take the time to like respond to some anonymous person on the internet,
Right.
but it does make you think. So it's almost like, I don't know, it's this weird game of like trying to use feedback on the internet to your benefit and not to like, mess you up or make you a goldfish and swim every direction and like bail on your the strategies that we've put together. So,
Two really good places though to provide good feedback. Well, it doesn't have to be positive. Of course, we ought to hear things that you think we can improve on. First of all, the refuge. You do that by being a member of the nest. And the second thing is the listener line here, Neil, 833-330-8725. Who's our first egghead?
well, an egghead, it's kind of tongue in cheek, but I'm going with the
Very
refuge
much.
first, and I'm gonna call him out. Eddie B85 is his refuge handle. Active member. No bad feelings here, Eddie. But I was reading through. There's a thread on the refuge. It's like, what do you want to see next out of NLU? And then I think the subheading is like "Let Tron cook" or something. Anyways, pretty active thread, and I always like checking in on it because like some good ideas, some really bad ideas, whatever. He sent a message like, I don't know, a week ago that said like, I think quote, had a realization this week the pod has gone downhill this year, at least for me, but won't really get into details unless I get assurances the constructive criticism won't have wagons circled around it. And so, leaving a cliffhanger in the refuges, that's catnip. So a lot of people like, hey man, can't do that. Like, out with it, right? And like safe space, whatever, whatever. So Eddie B85 came through with, and I'll just read it word for word so I don't paraphrase anything. Came through with a very, very, very thoughtful, as he called it, constructive criticism. It begins after people were like, spill the beans. Quote, okay, caveat that this is free and largely enjoyable, but I have had to do a surprising amount of skipping of late. The best episodes historically have been solid interview episodes. I'm guessing 3 young kids has made that more logistically challenging. So other things have had to fill the void. Major year recaps, feuds, lookbacks are awesome. The recap episodes are getting way too long. One of the many podcasts who need to adhere to less is more, IMO. Baseball America and Rates and Barrels in my feed also stand out as guilty of this lately. Makes it hard to touch all the bases. Just one person here, but I am out on personal golf journey stuff. Maybe I am on an island here and I am willing to admit that. Skip the second half of Monday's episode once it veered into that. That was DJ and I on the John Deere recap, the
Mhm.
Rocket Mortgage recap, which I
No,
really enjoyed that episode.
Rocket classic.
That was no, Rocket. Don't call me mortgage. Classic recap. Continuing with Eddie B 85. And this one pains me, but not a big fan of the narrative podcast. As a big fan of KVV, it hurts because I know he works his ass off on those. I skipped the second half of yesterday's because I wasn't interested, and I'm so far behind on podcasts because of the general bloat out there. Just meant to be one person's constructive thoughts, and there is no need to cater to that one person. But I did bounce this off a friend who listens, and he felt the same way and had bounced the pod from his rotation. The conversation is what prompted me to speak up in case, or this conversation is what prompted me to speak up in case there's some similar groundswell out there. but that would show up in download data. That is all. Thank you for the free content. End quote. First off, massive shout out to Eddie B85. I thought that was thoughtful, fair,
Yeah.
all of it. I really appreciate it. And as you can see, like, and you will hear, I've thought a lot about this quote and this post on our message board. And I think that's a good thing. I disagree with it though. And it's my first impression is that, like, after reflecting on it, it's like, fuck, man, like, we can't win, like, because there's an equal amount of people on both sides of that argument. I got Eddie B85 over here telling me to go back and do things the way we did in 2016. And I've got just as many people saying we should spend more time, on video or writing or, new podcast formats. Right. And so, like, yeah, I'm answering my own question, like, oh, just, block out the noise. But it's like, no, I think it's a good stress test on, like, reading something like that forces me to continually, like, evaluate, like, are we executing our strategy? Do I feel comfortable that this is, Eddie B85 thinks the podcast has gone downhill this year? And it's like, I do think that. And what I mean by, like, he wants us to go back to 2016 is that, like, I agree that Solly's interviews, in the, I don't know, let's say maybe not even that far, but like 2, 3, 4 years ago, they're fantastic. But the world's changed. Like, so there's some external variables. One, pro golfers are much less accessible. We've
Mhm.
talked to a lot of them. So, there's a little bit less like, oh my God, you got so and so on the podcast. And honestly, there's like 100 other golf podcasts that are asking for their time. And so these guys are more guarded. They're telling, like, it's kind of like when people do the book tour, you're going to kind of get the same. If you listen to a few podcasts, they're going to hit the rotation. And so we've really thought about this. Like, I think that interviews are still a core part of the pod, but, like, we can't rely on them. There's also, like, just straight up, like, a lot of times those guys just cancel at the last minute and you're just, like, left holding your schwanz on, like, okay, what's the episode going to be this week? And, like, there's a lot of people that really, cadence is important. Like, you want to put that
Very much.
that Sunday episode in their feed late Sunday night, early Monday, or Tuesday. Like, we try to keep that as consistent as possible. So it's a little bit easier for us to control our own destiny on that stuff. And so, I feel Eddie's feedback there of, like, man, something like, kind of like my mea culpa from a few weeks ago. I'm like, man, yeah, I wish I was younger. Like, I kind of wish we'd go back to 2016 or 2020 or whatever. It'd be a lot easier, but we can't. And so I'll take a few other Eddie's complaints one by one because it's kind of how I read it. It's like, he mentions length being an issue. Like, we actively try to shorten things up.
And we talk about it a lot.
We talk about it all the time, and it's
Yeah.
also, I think it's a good problem to have. Like, I still would rather miss on the long side and over
Yeah.
deliver. Like, right now, we're supposed to go an hour. We're gonna go probably an hour and a half, and I'm
Yep.
fucking fine with that because I'm enjoying this conversation, and I would rather over deliver. And maybe people would say, like, well, why don't you cut the bullshit on the front, the first 20 minutes and just get into this part? And I'm like, well, I like that part too. And sometimes you almost have to warm things up a little bit, like, I just don't, this is a heavier topic. I don't want to just dive right in on this. So, like, then I ask myself, like, well, what is Eddie B85's, like, ideal cadence and episode? Like, to me, it sounds like, is it an hour action packed episode a week? And it's like, well, I don't know, man. I probably should jump in and ask him. I'm lighting him up, but I'm hopefully he understands that this is, like, coming from a good place. It's like, I think that we have more to say than that, and, like, we also are trying to throw different formats out to people. I guess the easiest way to put that is, like, I think skipping is okay. And it's like, maybe I'm saying the quiet part out loud, but I think that's, like, a feature and not a bug. Like, there seems to be a desire, for someone like Eddie, like, I want to listen to every pod they do. And it's like, man, it's okay if you don't. Like, I don't think that's, like, possible anymore. Like, there is a lot of bloat out there, but
Well,
then
I
there's
I
a
look
balance.
we look at the numbers. We know everybody doesn't. We
I
see
know,
the
and that's
differences
totally
between.
fine, but we also don't see, like, massive, we see stuff that, like, does really well.
Mhm.
Like, Eddie doesn't like the personal golf stuff. Those are fucking firing. And you know
Yes.
what? There's kind of a good nexus because we've enjoyed doing them. And so, like, man, I could, okay, so the data says those are good. I enjoy doing them. I think we're all getting juice out of those. If we stop, then maybe we'd reconsider. But, like, then you run into this other thing of, like, where Eddie's right is, like, you don't want to over segment the Sunday recap where it's like, okay, Sunday now is only pro golf. And it's like, well, that loses some of the rambling magic and the digression and some of the fun of just like us hanging out, but it's also helpful to like, it's tough when, DJ and I have a really good personal golf discussion at the end of that podcast. And people are like, it's hard to be like, hey, go back and listen to the Rocket Don't Call Me Mortgage Classic interview, in 3 months, right? Where it's like, so there's, I don't know, there's consequence on both sides. So we're trying to break out the stuff that we think has legs as like an independent, like almost episode subcategory without, like wrecking what we've done, what's made us successful. So I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say, I know I'm rambling now, but it's like, God, I just want Eddie to know how much thought has gone into this especially like the last 6 to 9 months, of like, we are like, I think we're actively trying to focus on like where and how we can win. How can we be unique? What do we do better than anybody else? What are our strengths? I think that like leaning in and having to evolve things to like different topics, those have performed really well, the topic based ones. Well, we've got 5 or 6 unique voices that can discuss those topics. Or, the personal golf stuff allows us to like change the format a little bit and put somebody in the hot seat, which I don't think we've done enough in the past, and almost like interview each other in a different way. So I don't know. I guess I hate hearing. It always hurts to hear someone you fell out of someone's pod rotation, because like that's I got a pod rotation, and if you fall
Yeah.
out, you're gonna be out for a month or two at least. Before I go hunting, because he's right. There's a lot to keep up with, and so I hate that. But like, I guess I have to be comfortable with that, because I think there's no right that I think this is paralyzing for a lot of people, but there's no right answer here. Like, you could say like we should do what we always did to infinity, but like I think that's going to cause us to burn out and not want to do it. And there's also a lot of people that are like, man, I really like the way these guys are trying to push themselves and create new shit and like come up with like ways to like stay ahead and stay fresh, but like that's going to turn off people that like don't like change. And so, yeah, it kind of comes down to like, man, I feel like we have to trust our gut on this. And like, and maybe at least it would be nice sometimes to see in that feedback of like, I appreciate the effort. It's not for me, but like the benefit of the doubt of like, dude, we're spending hours and hours and hours thinking about this, like that kind of strategy stuff. And so I really appreciate that he took the time to like list it out. And it's like, it sucks that it's not landing with him. But like, I don't know,
It's
maybe
landing with a
tell
lot of people though.
yeah, but also maybe tell your boy, like, hey, come back, and maybe you might just be ODing on us, period.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe take 3 months off and then come back and check us out. See if that works. You can always come back. So I don't know, Cody. I was rambling there, but that's my first Egghead one. What are your thoughts on that?
No, it's very well said. On both sides, his side as well as your side. And I would say that when it comes to time, when we first started talking about time, it drives me crazy. And again, this is like a previous life thing to me, is that like you never, you don't practice, you don't train to time.
Yeah,
There's never anybody out there that's like, okay, it's 60 minutes and we're done. And you're like, but fuck, like we still have like a ton of golf to go through. And I remember I'll call out a specific instant, which was very much necessary at the time. When we do LPGA stuff, it gets lengthy because for no reason at all. We were in Spain for the Solheim Cup. We're staying in like this little, whatever.
yeah, I remember this.
And you turned around and you're like, okay, I'm starting the timer. And I was like, oh, ha,
I
ha, ha,
literally
ha.
put us on the clock.
I
I was
know.
like,
And then when the timer went off, like my reaction to that was like, I was pissed. I
yeah,
was like, "What?" Like, I don't know why. I guess I was kind of embarrassed because of where we were at in the show, because, Randy and I take responsibility for that, and we were so far behind. But also I was like, "Well, shit, like, we can't just cut it short now and
I know.
go." But it was a good wake-up call and being like, "No, like, what are we doing? Like, we're beating around the bush talking about this stuff, ranting for something about the 3rd day in a row now. Coverage isn't gonna change,
Yeah,
okay? And we need to think about this." And we've really reset since then and have gone about it the right way. And there's gonna be some podcasts that are naturally a lot longer than others. But I say people don't really complain when we're doing a travel episode about planning every single possible detail about a Scottish road trip or a Carolinas road trip or anything else like that. people are usually like, well, shit, I wanted more. I needed more details. I wanted more images. I wanted more graphics to go with it. Help me. So it's hard on where you're going to fall there. And I bring up the graphics because for a long time, we had the normal no laying up, you know, pod art, and that was it. And I think we've done a lot really the last 2 years and then really doubling down on it this year. We went through a complete brand refresh that we did not toot our horns about at all because I hate that
I
when
hate that
people
too.
toot their horns about something that they should do as a company anyway. We've improved our graphics across the board. If we put an episode out, I'm telling you exactly what is in that episode. And if it takes 2, 3 lines on a pod art or more descriptions needed, I will do that. We're very, very, when podcasts have a lot of different things going on in them, I'll go through and put timestamps in, whether that's audio or on YouTube. And then really we're greatly aided now from AI that gets it horribly wrong at times. But the fact that like on
Yeah.
Spotify, it tells you exactly where the chapters are, you know?
Tommy
So
Fleetwood wins the Travelers.
yes, which I went back and edited and I put in, and I think I changed it to almost or not or something like that, but made a joke out of it. But we hear
I don't
you.
know. At the end of the day, yeah, it's like uh, maybe it sounds stupid to say like, oh, effort should count for something. It's like, well, we're not delivering the goods for Eddie B. And Eddie, straight up shout out to you. I appreciate the feedback. I know I'm singling you out, but uh I don't know. We also we've been doing this for 10 years plus at this point, and it's very easy to get stuck between don't fuck up the recipe that worked and like keep pushing and evolving, which is where I get juice from that, of like what's next, man? Like I want to keep doing this for a long time and I don't want to get, there's a fear of like getting left behind or something, right? So
And my goodness,
some of
uh,
that is like, man, I got to follow what I'm energetic about and what's getting my partners and what's getting, the squad fired up to like, talk about. And I think, we got some feedback. We also gave each other some feedback of like, we felt like the pod was getting a little stale, like specifically the recap pods last summer. And we met for hours about like, how can we like let brainstorming, what new ideas you got? That's where the personal golf stuff came from. That's
segments,
where
that's where we back nine or whatever we
yeah,
ended
yeah,
up
just
calling
trying
it.
trying
Yep.
to provide some more organization because hopefully that'll keep us from just rambling for 2 hours. Because I agree, like some episodes are too long because and that usually is a product of us. I don't want to say not being prepared, but not having it like
Yeah.
outlined properly, where it's like everybody kind of knows what we got to get to instead of it just being like, you know, talk about the tournament, talk about this Ryder Cup update. It's like much more like a topic, like an open ended question that we're all going to answer and have a prepared, like have thought about it all day leading into the podcast. So
But if we kept it, t- I'll go back on recap podcast specifically. If we didn't give those opportunities for things to breathe, to talk about the weird and wacky and interesting names, we wouldn't end up with country music sensations. We wouldn't have people invested as much as they are in TC and Tommy. We wouldn't have had the you know. I still think back to Sunday at the Masters and how incredible that day was, not only for Rory, but the tournament, for you, for the narrative pieces, for everything going in. It was like this weird culmination of things. If we didn't give those opportunities places to breathe when they seem like they're not that big of a deal, people wouldn't be as invested when they do come out the other end and they become a big deal.
yeah, and I'd also say, we've been running kind of a strategy we mapped out last December, and there's always an interesting thing. You and I have talked about this in our weekly calls of like you got to give the strategy a chance.
Hmm.
But, like, you gotta also, like, cut bait at some point,
For
you know what I
sure. You
mean? Where
pivot.
it's like so it's like this it's gonna
Bucket.
change, there's gonna be and it's always trying to, like, drop this stuff that, man, like, we gotta we might have to reformat, like, how can we breathe some life into the LPGA stuff, for instance, like, to help you and Randy out, how can we like, which topic ones are doing well? How like, once we get through the rotation, how do we keep the personal golf stuff fresh?
Yeah.
Is that like what does that look like? I don't have answers to that yet. I mean, we'll have to just attack that when we do it. It's the same thing with like, you see some comments of like, man, these guys, I can't believe it. They just bailed on video. so stupid. It's like, no, we didn't, man. If we just did, that's just not true. First off, and second, it's like again, I'm trying to figure out where we can win because that's turned into a crowded ass space, and it's like where can we differentiate and where can we make it sustainable so that we don't burn out and just like throw a bunch of match play videos out. No offense, those are great videos. It's just like that's not really what we're set up for. So kind of, I think it was just really caught me because I was like, man, I'm really happy to see that feedback of like the pods. The specifically what caught me was like the pods for the last 6 months have really gone downhill. Like I was like, fuck yeah, like dude, we totally changed the strategy 6 months ago. Like somebody noticed, and we've had a lot of
Mm.
people reach out and be like, man, I feel like you guys have been firing the last 6 months. Those are usually private messages. The public ones are usually like, man, these guys fucked it up, which is always funny too. But it's like it's nice. It's like okay, that's something that I guess I am gonna have to be comfortable with. Is it like, man, if you change things, it's not gonna hit for everybody, and that's just a fact that I can't fix that. And I don't know. So I'm almost just bringing this up to like voice it. I think it's productive, and I don't know. I don't know if it was a good conversation, but I do have a second egghead, and this one's much more of an egghead. This one, so that was for the refuge, where I think I take feedback on the refuge very like seriously. Sometimes for dessert, I will go check out Reddit threads, and usually about every 3 months, there a thread will bubble up that is pontificating on either basically speculating on how much money we make, or like Tron's lavish lifestyle or something. It's like the world is
Trust fund.
healing when I see it, and I have a couple friends that'll send me like, oh, check it out, because I've kind of talked to my buddies about this, and so I want to, and then we'll inevitably get a comment like this one from AKA Gordon. Quote, I am about 60% sure that this is Tron's wife either makes a lot or has some generational wealth.
Mm.
And then there's some comments of like, yeah, she's from like Swedish royalty, blah, blah, blah. Just like, okay. So I broke my own rule on this one. I'm sure some people listening know. I jumped in that thread after somebody said it to me, and I just said death, taxes, and Reddit knowing how much money we make or come from. And first, I just want to say I'm 100% sure that AKA Gordon is a moron. Okay, that isn't true. It's actually the opposite. My sister-in-law does not come from a rich Swedish family. There's no hotel lineage. We're not related to the Simon and Schuster book kingdom. There is no generational wealth on either side of the Carter family. And I just wanted to say that like in 2014, Neil would need to make room for WoW. That I just said that publicly on a podcast, which is like it's kind of funny, but it's like I don't know. Maybe it's because my brother, and you start seeing that shit, and you're like, it does piss me off a little bit. I'd be lying if I said that it didn't. When people just say like, oh, I know for a fact like how these guys grew up, or I know like this or that, and then it kind of parachutes into like, well, Neil's buying this house, like his in-laws are definitely helping. It's like my buddy sent me a note. He was like, God, people are talking like your dad, like the franchise and your father-in-law are arm wrestling for who's going to pay Neil's rent. It's like, are you fucking serious? Like, you honestly, like, are you know, like what? It's wild. So anyway, I know I'm gassing up the haters right now. And I shouldn't be doing that, but it got me thinking about like the obsession that people have with like, what we make and like what the money and what goes on behind the curtain. And I understand that like, there's a fascination with that. It's the same with like how we view professional sports and salaries and why I like listening to the business podcast. I get it. College football coaching salaries and how they're the highest paid public employees in every state. Like it's an interesting topic of discussion. It's just like, and it's started to become apparent to me. It's like, it's kind of a trade-off when you lead like a somewhat public life, is that like everybody then expects like, oh well, I have a right to know like what you make. I have inherent expectations that if like fans or an audience like has the right to know. That's the vibe that kind of comes through in those threads. And then people are like, well, no, I do know. It's like, well, no, you absolutely do not. And it's just crazy paradox of like, it's, for 95% of the world or more, it's just like wildly inappropriate to like ask somebody like how much money they make or like, speculate on that. Like, so that's just a fact. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like crossing that Rubicon has been a little uncomfortable for me. I'm like, oh man, okay. I just kind of like, I would be lying if I said it didn't bother me that people were saying like, I didn't,
You didn't
I
earn this.
that I didn't earn the right to buy a house to close on a house next Tuesday. That does
Yeah.
piss me off. That really pisses me off. And that my somehow the franchise has been paying my bills and I'm 36 years old. Like straight up, I just want to say fuck you if you think that. Okay. Like that does bother me because that's not true. It's not true for my brother. It's not true for any of us. Period. And so I guess it kind of comes down to like I was listening after I listened to that Chernow pod. I was on the elliptical and another like the Daily Stoic pod came on and it's Ryan Holiday, like 20 minutes. And he was talking about how, he'll see people on Instagram that like do something similar to him, like authors, and they're like on private jets. He's like, man, I know that guy's business like that, he can't be caking like that. And
Yeah.
he brought up an anecdote that he talked to like Molly Bloom, who's the lady from Molly's Game, which is a sweet movie. I'd recommend it. Watch that
Mhm.
recently. And she said to him, like, yeah, sometimes you might just assume they're a criminal because, like, from her background running that poker game, it's like people might just be like cheating. And I heard that and I was like, man, I kind of think the opposite. And I think a lot of people are looking for that to be the answer. Like, well, no, these guys like they're not doing that well. Like they've definitely had help, because I think it's I don't know, maybe easier to think that. And I'm like, no, man, like maybe I'm just like working my nuts off. You know what I mean? And like I try not to spend a lot of money. It's so I don't know. It's hard to see people speculate about something that I feel kind of private about, and I just got to get a little bit more comfortable. But it gives me, I will say, on the flip side of that, it gives me a lot of empathy, a lot more empathy for pro athletes, and specifically, we've talked a lot about the pro golfers and how bitchy they've been with the media. Now, I definitely think that pro golfers should have to answer tough questions after rounds about their performance. I have to do it after strapped. I have to do it after not qualifying for an MGA event. Like honestly, it's kind of the same thing. I really believe that. Like now they have to do it more often, and I think that's a trade off that goes along with it. But I can see how it would be exhausting for them to constantly correct the AKA Gordons of the world when they're like, no, this is why Morikawa's doing that because he's a dick, or I haven't come up with an answer, and it gives me like more respect for Kevin Durant when he claps back just randomly at like haters. Like everyone's like, oh, he's so soft. He should ignore that shit. It's like honestly, man, sometimes it feels good like to just flame a moron, and I gotta have better self control because it's not a good use of my time, and it's like whack a mole if you do it too much. Like you can't fix it. So like I'm very comfortable in that. Like I think what I would round this out with the egghead segment is like it helps me to say this stuff out loud to get the good from public feedback, and like I want to take the good and leave the bad. And I think I've felt myself getting a little riled up when I read some of that stuff, but I don't want to just like completely ignore it because I do think I think it's a good stress test. Like with Eddie B, I think it's a good thing. And with some of these, like eggheads, yeah, sometimes it does piss you off and it's cathartic to just say it out loud of like, that's not true. And it'll keep happening, but I feel better now that I brought it up on the podcast. So there you have it, Cody. I'm sorry. I'm going to get off my soapbox.
Very well said. No, you're right. It's very personal. And you have every right to be like, what the hell? This is people just don't understand. But that's like part of human nature is to sit there and pontificate and think and I don't know. It's very weird. We live in this weird world now where people expect so much like information of like what in what world do you think you would ever say that? And I know that's like a really the younger generation is very weird about it. I've talked to people of all ages, but it's really my younger brother, and he's just like at times he straight up asks people like how much money they make. And I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
He's like,
maybe that's
"Well,
just a changing
like why are you saying that? Like that
thing.
has nothing to do with you." And he's like, "No, no, it has everything to do with me though. I don't want that guy. Like why would that guy make more money than me? I work harder than him. I outperform him on every level. Like, why would he?" And I'm like, "Well, okay, I understand that, but it's like a very personal thing."
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
I get it.
yeah, and I think that can be poisonous, right? Comparison being the
Very
thief of joy, blah blah blah.
100%.
I mean, on the business front, it's like, yeah, we're pretty private about like numbers and stuff. And I was listening to the Prof G show. Galloway, there's a guy that's fallen in and out of my rotation, but sometimes I'll check in on him. I had some long car rides, so I was kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel on a few pods. And he had an office hours one where he just basically walked through like the financials of his podcast empire or whatever, and like straight up, it was super useful and valuable to me. I was like, oh great, yeah, I understood every single thing he was talking about with CPMS and like how it works, and I was like, all right, cool. And I give him credit for doing that. It's and I don't sometimes I'm like, I'm not trying to hide anything. I just feel I don't know. I feel like it's our business, and I feel the right to say what I want about it. I kind of want I want people to I don't know. I hate when people use it was like your brand refresh example earlier. I don't want to be celebrated for raising money or stuff like that. I want to be celebrated for like good content, or
Yeah.
like
Hell
bringing
yeah.
joy to people or building a community. And so I guess I definitely understand the fascination or the curiosity, but yeah, I'm kind of wrestling with it. Maybe we should be out there more. Maybe I should be on the podcast being like, Here's a fucking breakdown of the business." And maybe in the future I'll do it, but I'm not ready to right now. I don't know. An unanswered question, Cody.
Hell yeah. I love it. If you got feedback or anything for Neil, hit him up on the refuge, of course, or you can hit up the listener line at 833-330-8725. That's it for the booth this week. Next week, I don't know. I think we got Seamsters maybe coming up next week. I got to check the schedule. It's a busy week for us, Open Championship, lots of live shows, video content that everybody thinks is dead will be out Monday night.
Some
Excited
good
about
stuff,
that.
and some good stuff in the can, man. I think
Hmm.
I think we're fighting the good fight against the I want everything, the Amazon primification of our world. Of like, man, you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, but I really think we're pouring a lot of heart and soul into the video stuff that's coming out this year, later,
For
in the future. Um,
absolutely.
being a part of some stuff that's been filmed and in the edit bay, I'm like, man, I had a fucking blast on that trip. I think it's like, I got a lot out of it, blah, blah, blah. So I'm excited about it. And I don't know. At the very least, it's like I don't want to wake up in like 3 to 5 years and be running a business making stuff that I don't like personally, that like I don't want to watch. Like I'm really
Right.
excited to watch this Belfast video that I was not a part of. Like I have
Yep.
not, sometimes I purposely like let me know if you need me to watch it, but I am going to be locked in on that premiere. You know what I mean? And that's how it should be. I want it to be that way as long as possible, So it's like we got to protect that before we like, before we can just like cater to everybody. I don't know. So
You're
I don't know,
right.
Cody. Cathartic stuff here in the booth today.
I love it. That's what it's for, brother. That's exactly what it's for. Shout out to our friends Drew at Stone Creek, of course, Rhoback. Check out the summer collection there from them. And of course, the presenting sponsor, our hitters at ServPro. Like it never even happened. Neil, that's it for this week. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.